Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jimmy Carroll. I'm the Vice President of Operations at Tech B2B Marketing and co-host of the Manufacturing Matters podcast. And welcome to the final session of Automate Live on Day 2 at Automate. I have the pleasure of being joined by Nikki Gonzales of the Automation Ladies.
Hey, everybody.
And Lindsey Sullivan, who's a Technical Marketing Manager at CCS.
Yeah. Hi.
Thank you for joining us, Lindsey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for allowing us to be here with you. So I'd like to start off by asking what you and what CCS are most excited about at Automate this year.
Yeah, we are most excited. Automate Live, being here with you guys. So thanks again for having me. I think for me, I'm most excited about at our booth, we have an air hockey table. And this has been something that my co-marketer and I came up with the idea to really show off, how well our lights work in high speed, but also really helps you kill time at the booth when you've got a little bit to kill. You just play air hockey while you're playing. So that's been fun to have that here. And then obviously seeing everybody that you kind of get to network with again. You see them every year at the show, get to catch up. So the social side and then the air hockey table's been fun.
I love how you guys are bringing the lighting into applications in your booth and making it something fun that people get to play with.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I haven't made it down there yet, but for those that are here and like me have been too busy to come to your booth yet, where is it? So people can find you.
It's right kitty corner here. It's 5414. 5415? Feel like I'm a little bit dyslexic sometimes. But
yeah, that's okay.
It's over there somewhere.
It's hard to remember.
Yeah, you'll get there in the way. But yeah, it's pretty close to this booth right here. And if you beat one of the sales teams at air hockey, you can get a little kendama game that you can play, which is a little Japanese game. You throw a little ball up into a cup. So it's fun. Super
cool. Isn't that something that you had at your booth last year and then people wanted to take them, but you weren't giving them away?
Yeah, so then we made them giveaways this year because we kind of learned from our mistakes.
From year after year with that Automate, what's popular, what people like to see. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as what's popular, I like to talk about this a lot, right? So there are different technology. Customer needs evolve, and they put the onus on the vendors, right, to advance their technologies. So processes get faster and faster, and with that requires all these different vendors, lighting companies, camera companies, processing companies, whatever, to advance their technologies. And from your perspective, right, what are some of the most common applications that are driving the needs for increasingly high speeds in machine vision today?
Yeah, so logistics has been a big one. That was definitely, COVID happened and everyone needed logistics lights. It was a big market. We all took over. So high speed is really, and that industry is unique because all of the applications are pretty much high speed versus like food and beverage. You have a lot of high speed applications, but you can have some that are pretty standard speed or stationary even and stuff like that. So when you get to logistics, it's a lot of the barcode reading, but the challenge of that is the boxes change in size, color, where the barcode is. It's not consistent every time. So developing a light that can illuminate a whole field of view evenly and pick up a barcode in the whole thing versus like food and beverage, it's going to be the same place every time, but you have different challenges of being washed down or, it's harder to read the barcode because of how it's printed on the can or something like that. So those are kind of the common ones. We're also seeing that there's a lot of the kind of average request of the exposure time when we get applications that we're solving has just seemed to have gotten faster.
Yeah.
And so I think just in general manufacturing is getting more efficient and getting faster. So lighting is just going to have to keep up with that as well.
Yeah.
Throughput. Everybody's after throughput, right?
They are, yeah.
So you want to run your machines faster. I think also as people are getting more into predictive maintenance and smarter systems, they're able to actually run their lines faster.
Yeah.
Because I know one of the big problems, kind of with automation in the past has been oftentimes manufacturers, they buy a machine or a line and it's supposed to run at a certain speed. Mm-hmm. But the reality of the situation is they often don't run them at that speed because some issue or some incompatibility, or maybe they're not very well maintained. Mm-hmm. And now as the entire industry has kind of come up to a level, right, we're actually getting better at this. We're integrating better. Mm-hmm. These machines are coming up to the speeds that they're supposed to be at.
Yeah.
Even, or as they're also getting faster, I'm sure there's a number of factors that are kind of driving that need for speed.
Yeah, and we don't want lighting to be the bottleneck in that scenario. You don't want to slow down your speed because your light's not bright.
No, and nor should it be left for last, right? So often it feels like machine vision lighting is sort of an afterthought, but you still require like a sufficient amount of contrast to create differentiation in images for AI, for example.
Yes.
AI cannot make up for ambient lighting or poor lighting conditions, and every application requires different lighting setups. So in addition to high speed, I wanted to ask, like, what are some of the different lighting strategies required for both high speed and high precision applications today?
Yeah, so it's you talk about contrast. That is essentially what machine vision and lighting specifically is trying to do. You're trying to create contrast so the camera can see it, the tool is more reliable and more repeatable. So we kind of think of it as, where is the contrast coming from? Is it coming from the product? Does it already have it there? Like a black barcode on a white background. Yeah. That's going to be contrast no matter what you do. Versus if it's like a pin stamp barcode on, so that's going to be gray on gray. A light can hide that, or a light can enhance that. And so we kind of view, when is it precision? When is it flood? How are we getting the contrast? Is it already there? That's a floodlight. We just have to evenly illuminate the area, make sure it's consistent every time. Ambient light's not going to be a problem. If it's, the harder one where it's gray on gray, pin stamp, now we have to think about, is the light coming from a certain direction? Is that going to hide it or enhance it? Is the wavelength important? Is the working distance mattering? And that's just testing, a lot of trial and error in our lab, bringing the light up and down, using the physics of light to make sure you're solving that and can get that repeatable image every time.
It's a lot of trial and error with light testing, right? You really got to test those samples to know exactly what you're going to be needing to use. It's one of those things where you really want a specialized lighting vendor, really, that really understands what to test.
Yep.
And has all of the available options.
Yeah, and it's even, you think something will work, and this will be so easy, slam dunk, I'll just throw this light on, and then you're like, that didn't work, back to square one, and then kind of start over.
Yeah, and it's not just about high speed. I know high speed gets a lot of the attention because it's fun, right?
Yeah.
And logistics and the post-COVID wave of e-commerce booming. And it's understandable for high speed to be such a hot topic, but lighting and machine vision systems must also be able to enhance accuracy and precision. And there are a lot of interesting technologies, sort of hot topic technologies, right? Like SWIR and multispectral and 3D and AI we mentioned. What are some ways that you've seen your lighting help solve challenges that maybe in the past weren't possible?
Yeah, so it's like lighting is only getting better, right? And when they first started, it was just kind of red LEDs, and then they were able to make white LEDs and opened it up. And like you said, SWIR, hyperspectral, that's the wavelengths getting longer and more inclusive is really doing a lot, but also the form factor matters a lot. So we have this one LFX-V light that no one ever has. It's my favorite machine vision light, which is a really nerdy thing to have, I've noticed. But I love it.
I think you're in a room. I think you're in a giant convention center full of people with nerdy interests. So that's
a great point. I feel better. Thank you.
Absolutely.
But it's like a light that does coaxial collimation properties, but when it's really close to the part, it's more like a dome light. And so having the right form factor, because that light can solve applications that no other light can solve.
Yeah.
And so, it's really just having the right light to solve the application and understanding the physics so that gosh, I'm getting off topic here, but where lighting is going, the wavelengths are going to get better, the form factors are going to get better, the intensity is getting better, the control is getting better too. When we do say high speed, a lot of that is you have such a short amount of time to get your light to flicker in that really short exposure time. You have to make sure your control of that light is perfect, because you can't afford to miss or the images are going to flicker. So it's kind of all coming together now. It's all working together now, getting easier to program for people, having a lot more plug and play, that kind of stuff it's all just getting better.
Absolutely.
Kind of a fun question for you. We talked a little bit about this beforehand, and I know that your kids are younger, but if you have family members or friends and you're trying to explain to them what you do, what are some examples of fun applications that you might be able to talk about that you say, hey, well, this is really cool. I know that the robot dogs and the humanoids are kind of sexy, but what are some examples of applications that are maybe common for CCS where you can say, here's something really cool that we help solve?
Yeah, I would. So the way I describe my job to people, it's not exactly fun, but I'm if you're looking at a can of tuna and there's a date code, you're not going to have an operator pick it up. But sometimes I like to talk about the places that I visited. I went to a slaughterhouse one time, which isn't exactly fun to say, but I would have never gone to a slaughterhouse before, and you're just kind of we were trying to see how the meat was cut and stuff like that. So that's probably the weirdest, the most shocking one, I guess, that I go with, which isn't very fun. Not to use that word, but It's my best
I think
example.
a lot of us struggle with telling people outside the industry what we do because it is often so technical and it's like a subset of the manufacturing industry. And the broader world doesn't even know that much about, like, not a lot of people have been inside of a slaughterhouse or a tuna factory, right?
Yeah.
And I think no matter what role you play in this industry, you get to see that cool stuff. And then lighting, really, you're illuminating those products. It's really a lot of fun to talk about. I myself could go on, if we had an hour here, on an in-depth conversation about the spectrum of light, things we can and can't see. Also, so I would think maybe if I was still doing that kind of stuff, I used to be a machine vision engineer, which relies a lot on lighting, is, we have lights and we can illuminate some things that your eye can't see, but a camera could see, like how dogs and cats have different spectrum of vision than we do.
Yeah.
And it's really all about that spectrum.
Yeah.
And capturing the right one for the...
Yeah, like UV and stuff, you can kind of, you can see the fluorescence, but yeah.
Yeah, well, and when you think of like high speed, even all the best machine vision systems are only as good as the sum of its parts, and that includes lighting and motion control and cameras and lenses and all these other things that make up these large systems. So all of it together creates these faster, better, more accurate systems that are pushing throughput and accuracy and maintaining brand reputation and all those great things. Like when it comes to being reliable, right, for your integrators or your OEMs, so how do you go about testing and validating your products to ensure that like they can meet these high speed needs or these non-visible imaging needs or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, the first things first, have a comprehensive lab. In our lights, we have pretty much all the tools you need to solve. We have a lot of lights at our disposal. We have our headquarters in Japan, so we're able to, hey, like, we need this specific thing. Can you guys send it down? So just being able to test with as many lights as we have to test with. But we kind of talked earlier, it's a lot of trial and error of, making sure that you're testing it. A lot of it comes down to what we're given as well, making sure that we're given all the information to replicate your setup. Because kind of worst case scenario is when we come up with a solution and we send it and they're like, oh, there's something in the way, we can't put the light there.
Yeah,
and then you have to like start over. Or the worst is when they give us like a sample of one defect and like, but these other ones could occur. So, solve it for that. And I'm like, I can't guarantee the solution will work for those because I don't have that defect to test with. So it's a little bit of give and take, right? We will give you all of the lights at our disposal and test with those, but make sure that you're giving me exactly what you're going to see and what's going to come to you so I can make sure that that's what I'm actually solving for. And then there's, strategies when it comes to high speed. People always kind of, well, they don't always, but sometimes they call in and they're like, what's the lux of this light at this working distance? And that's not really that relevant unless you have the right measurement tool to figure that out. But really, you got to know, like, what intensity are we jumping from? So test it at a standard intensity. Okay, in order to reach the exposure time that you have, our light has to be 3.5 times brighter because we can solve it at 350 microseconds, but you need 150 microseconds. So how do we get this light that we've solved with 3.5 times brighter to solve your application? So knowing what questions to ask, making sure we're getting the right information from the customer, and testing out everything. I always say test every application. Even if you think it's easy, if it's an easy answer, it's an easy test. Because worst case scenario is you install something and it's not easy and it's not what you think it is and you've already got the parts or don't want to delay your project. Always test.
Right, yeah, and your brand and reputation's on the line there, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, even if it's not your fault, like you said, you didn't actually get the examples of the defects that the customer wanted.
Yeah.
In the end, they associate your reputation with the outcome of the entire system, not just the lighting.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you have a pretty tight, like, partner ecosystem. You work with manufacturers of cameras, you work with systems integrators.
Yeah.
Because it really takes that holistic system. Do you guys have a lot of partners here at the show today?
We do, yeah. Gosh, I feel like all day long it's been pulled to one person, come talk to this guy and this guy, which I'm sure you guys have been doing too. So, yeah, we've got our lights are in a lot of different booths. We're kind of showing a lot of different things as well. So it's been fun kind of getting to reconnect with everybody while we're here and working with all those guys.
Automation is really a team sport. Like, you need all of these different players and you need them to work together for the customer to be able to trust that solutions are going to work.
Yeah.
And lighting is one of those that is a specialty that really, I mean, as you're talking, these specific things are maybe not things that even general automation engineers know about, right? Yeah. So having access to a specialized lighting manufacturer, supplier that knows what they're doing, that knows how to test, you can give the advice to the customer of what questions you should be asking, what things you need to watch out for and make sure to test,
Mhm.
right? I like to think about it in my network. Like I have a go-to company or a go-to person for every subspecialty of automation, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't know everything about it all.
Yeah.
And so even though some of those things that people think of as afterthoughts,
Yeah.
they really should be, you should have a go-to person,
Yep.
company for that, because they're the only ones that are so nerdy and care so much about that piece
They
of
have
the puzzle, right?
favorite machine vision lights.
Yeah.
Not everyone else has that.
Well, Lindsey, Nikki, thanks so much for sharing the stage here. Lindsey, what's the booth number again? One more time, just so we can the general area anyway. 541-ish.
5414.
5414.
Emily's gonna kill
All
me
right.
for the record for this. She's gonna be so mad I didn't remember this booth number.
Well, we still got.
Yeah.
There's also an app where you can search for CCS lighting and find them here.
Yeah, there you
on
go.
the floor.
Exactly. So, so with that, thank you very much. And this is the final session of the day, and Automate Lab will pick back up tomorrow at 9 a.m. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and see you all tomorrow.
Tune in tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.